Now today we're going to speak about the government's plan to introduce a Internet Code of Conduct. Now we're not going to talk about the merit of it, because that's not the purpose of this sharing. Rather, our objective is to look at the methodology, the how, and not the whys. Now, as far as the how is concerned, I think government would need to be mindful of the fact that the relationship between them and netizens are currently not in a very good state. Netizens do not trust the government. There is a lot of cynicism and skepticism to anything that government intends to do concerning the internet. And you can argue whether this idea is justified. You can argue whether these fears are valid. But real or imagined, what cannot be denied is that these are real concerns, and they are concerns that cause a lot of anxiety. So the whole idea of this sharing is to highlight certain shortcomings in the current way in which the government is approaching this whole idea of implementing an internet guideline. Now, I think one of the things that government needs to be mindful of is that they can no longer use the top-down approach when they deal with the internet. And if any of you do not know what a top-down approach is, this is what it is. Now I want you to imagine this as the blogger, and I want you to imagine me as Mr. Government. So it's like this. Listen here, we have worked very hard to come up with a way in order to take us to the land of milk and honey. No, we are not going to negotiate. No, this is the way, and this is the only way that we're going to walk forward. I'm sorry? No, we're not going to negotiate. Listen, if you don't buy into my idea, I'm going to take a hammer and thump you. Do you understand? Are we clear? Okay, that, ladies and gentlemen, just happens to be an executive summary of the top-down approach when it comes to government dealing with netizens. Now, if you are a government official and you're listening to this may come as a surprise to you, possibly because you're still in a state of denial. But if you're a netizen, then you will probably agree with me. Because if you look at the history of the government and the internet for the last 15 years, and we're talking about a time that even goes beyond the Mr. Brown saga to even talk being gazetted, you find that governments have all too often adopted this method when they have tried to deal with the internet. And this method doesn't bring any value whatsoever to bringing people closer together. In fact, you could say it has been responsible for exacerbating the relationship between the online community and officialdom. So the question that many of us have been discussing last night for 3 hours, because I sat down with the Interspacing Mercantile Guild, and we were quite puzzled, and we were quite confused as to why the government would once again use this method if what they truly want is for bloggers to buy into their ideal of utopia in internet. I mean, it seems to me like a very strange idea to win over people. And I think governments should consider another approach whereby that requires them, first of all, to manage not only conflict, but diversity and also differences effectively. And to do this, they would have to open their minds to the idea whereby they create a forum where there are representatives from the blogging community and government. And once again, I think it's important to state that as far as government efforts are concerned to any proposed changes in the internet, from what we have seen, they have not really given much attention to putting the right people on the job. In fact, if you look at the people who are responsible for driving this whole internet idea of introducing a code of conduct, these people are not adept in managing conflict. They have no feel of the ground, and worst of all, you're just setting them up for failure. So I think it's important to look at the quality of the people. And one good person that I think who will be able to recommend and also get buy-in or if not get buy-in, at least he will be taken seriously by the blogging community, is George Yeo, because right now he's been kicked out, and you cannot say that he's part of the government. He was part of the government. So George Yeo, I think, is a right man for the job, because not only does he have a history of diplomacy, but he was the first minister in Singapore to blog. So I think he has a lot of goodwill with netizens. And as far as netizens are concerned, I think that the online citizen under Ravi Pelamon is also a very good representative, because since he took over Andrew Loy, and Andrew Loy kept censoring us for no apparent reason. And you don't go down this road with me, Andrew Loy, because I say what I want to say. Now, that's an example of top-down approach, yeah. Okay? But we're not going to go into that. But if we can get people like that to actually sit down in one place, and this place that I'm talking about need not necessarily be the physical world. It could actually be held in the virtual. But what's important is that you create avenues for bloggers and also blog commentators to actually comment and to actually get feedback. I think if governments can do that, then what they will be able to do is shift the whole idea from the top-down approach to the bottom-up approach. And not only that, because if they're able to do that, then what governments will be doing is that instead of driving this whole project, they will be nothing more than facilitators. They will facilitate the whole idea from conception to the point when this idea is actually fleshed out into a coherent plan that can be implemented. So what we're talking about is not only the methodology, but if you think about it, it actually is a shift of power from government to people. And I think if governments adopt this new attitude, they would get good results. And I wish them luck.